Good morning, everyone. Hope you're having a great start to the day. It's only 10 days to Passover, yet it's frigid outside. It is so cold, although they're telling us we might have some nice warm weather over Pesach, which we're all hoping for. So, this week we begin the book of Leviticus. We finished the book of Exodus. We start a new book, Leviticus, which in Hebrew is called Vayikra, and he called. And that's the first word in this week's Torah portion. Vayikra Hashem el Moshe. God calls to Moses. And he speaks to him from the tent to Ohel Moed and gives him direction to the people of Israel. But the rabbis tell us, just like God called and spoke to Moses, God speaks and calls to every single Jew and asks them and gives them a calling, a mission in their life. And we have to have our calling, our drive, our spiritual drive that gives us fulfillment in life and gives us purpose in our life. That we don't just live a life where you get up in the morning, you go to sleep at night, get up the next morning, eat, sleep, drink, play sports, watch TV, surf the social media, but yet you have a calling. Vayikra Hashem el Moshe, God's calling to Moses is a continued calling to each and every one of us. And it's our job to find that calling, to find that meaning, to find that purpose through Torah, through Jewish values and traditions. You know, today is the yahrzeit of the fifth Lubavitcher Rebbe, who was the Rebbe Rashab. He was dubbed the Maimonides of Chassidic teachings. Although his father passed away when he was only 20 years old, he took on the leadership of Chabad and he gave some of the most deepest insights in Chassidic teachings. Over 2,000 Chassidic discourses. Some of them were series that would last years. Some of the most famous Chassidic insights and discourses that are studied till today. One time, the Rebbe Rashab was in Germany, in Würzburg, and a few Chassidim were sitting with him. It was a Shabbos, and the Rebbe davened for many hours and meditated. And afterwards, they made Kiddush and they were sitting together. And one of the Chassidim asked the Rebbe, "What is a Chassid?" And the Rebbe said, back in the olden days, the way it worked was, they had these roads, and it was very dark. How did they illuminate the roads? They didn't have electricity like today. So they had these lamplighters, and they had these kerosene lamps in the middle of the road on both sides. And what would happen is they had a lamplighter who was someone that would go every night with a lamp, with a torch, and he would light and kindle every single of those lamps. And the Rebbe said that a chassid is a lamplighter, that he knows the light is not his, it represents the cities, but he goes from kerosene lamp to kerosene lamp and kindles it and brings light and warmth to those around him. And in fact, the Rebbe Rashab was the first one who started the idea of sending out Chabad emissaries, Chabad shlichim, which I am merited to be one of, to the mountains, the Caucasian mountains, to look after the Jews who were far away. And that was the calling of a chassid. A chassid is a lamplighter. What's your calling? Your calling is to be a person who brings light and warmth and spirituality to every single person. We have to find our calling. We have to find our spiritual purpose in life. Each one of us has one. And when we find it, and we work on it, and we impact others, then we have purpose in our life and meaning, and it leads us to true joy. You know, yesterday, or actually on Friday, it was a very tragic thing that happened. This young man, his name was Ro'i Sadan, 39 years old. He was affectionately called Jinji. He was a Jinji like me, but a real redhead. And he was a cyclist who, for years, would bicycle all over the world. And in fact, from 2007 to 2011, he biked in 6 continents, 42 countries, 66,000 kilometers, starting in Alaska, going to the West Coast, South America, North America, South America, all the way up and ended down at the outbacks in Australia after going through the jungles of Africa, etc., etc. And he did this all alone. And wherever he bicycled, he had this blue and white hybrid thorn bike that he dubbed and coined the Emunah bike, the faith bike. And he had a big Israeli flag on it. And he would go and speak at schools, and he would speak at shuls and wherever he went, and he would tell people to fulfill their dreams and live a life of calling, and he would inspire them to have faith. And in fact, in 2015, he was climbing this mountain in India. He was 21,000 meters up, and he hit a stone, and he fell hundreds of meters, and miraculously, there was these people climbing under him who pushed ice to protect him and to catch the force that came with him. And he was terribly bruised, and they gave him oxygen till a helicopter came and took him. He was flown to Israel, where he had he found a coma for a year. The doctors told his parents that he could either be a vegetable or he could come back to himself. And he did come back to some form where he biked again. And tragically, on Friday, he was biking right near his home, out of all places, in Rosh Hanikra in northern Israel. And a tour bus at 2:30 p.m. hit him on his bicycle, on his Emunah bicycle, where he fell and he was found unconscious. He was brought to the hospital after they revived his pulse, but he passed away tragically on Friday, and his funeral was on Sunday. And this Jinji, he found his calling. He found his way to bring faith, to bring optimism, to bring hope to other people, to allow them to fulfill their dreams. And although he died at the young age of 39 in such a tragic way, he lived a life of calling, a life of fulfillment, a life of purpose. And that's the message of this book of Leviticus, Vayikra, that the whole book is called, and he called. God calls you and me and every single one of us. And he calls us to listen to that calling, to hear God's calling, and to live a life of purpose and meaning, a life that makes a difference in the people around us. And then it's not about how many years we live, but it's about the things we accomplish and the purpose we find. And God willing, God gives us longevity and long life. But as the chassid that the Rebbe Rashab told, whose yahrzeit is today, in Germany in 1906, what's a chassid? A chassid is a lamplighter, someone who carries that fire and kindles the kerosene lamps on the side of the road that not only gives them light, but allows those going on the dark road to find life and purpose in their own life. May we all hear our calling, and may we all fulfill our missions and have an impact in a positive way, just as Jinji did. May his memory be for a blessing, and may his soul find true elevation and peace. God bless.